scripture today comes from Psalms 130. This version is from the Bible called the Message. It is also known as a pilgrim song. Help, God! The bottom has fallen out of my life. Master, hear my cry for help. Listen hard. Open your ears. Listen to my cries for mercy. If you, God, keep records on wrongdoings, who would stand a chance? As it turns out, forgiveness is your habit, and that's why you are worshipped. I pray to God, my life a prayer, and wait for what he will say and do. My life is on the line before God, my Lord, waiting and watching till morning. Waiting and watching till morning. Oh, Israel, wait and watch for God. With God's arrival comes love. With God's arrival comes generous redemption. No doubt about it. He'll redeem Israel. Buy back Israel from captivity to sin. Here ends the scripture. Thanks be to God. Yes. I picked this psalm when it appeared in the lectionary because I like to think about the concept of waiting. I mean, waiting is an interesting thing to consider. It talked about it a lot during Advent, as Advent's the season of waiting. Don't talk about it too much at other times of the year. But it is a great theological concept. For some, the concept of waiting is very normal, even comforting. Some people like the empty space that time waiting in your life creates, that time spent waiting. Some people even like sitting in traffic, believe it or not, because it just helps them kind of wind down from their day if they're commuters. For others, waiting seems like a waste of time. You're the kind of person who would not want to stand around when you could be busy doing something productive. But waiting does have its place. It is important, and finding the right time to act also and not wait too long also has great value. I read a great little story this week about a small girl that just didn't talk. It goes, for all the years of her young life, Sally had never spoken a word. Her mother had taken her to all the specialists, but to no avail. One morning at breakfast, Sally threw down her toast and exclaimed, "This toast is burned. I can't eat this." Her mother was understandably overwhelmed. "Sally, you're talking," she said. "Why have you never spoken before in all these years?" And Sally said, "Well, everything has been all right up till now." Great story. She waited until something important in her life needed her voice. Actually, Todd will tell you a similar story about his brother Kent. He rarely said anything until a trip to Myrtle Beach when he was about 3 1/2, and he got knocked over by a wave, and he yelled and started screaming, and everyone in the family will tell you he has not stopped talking since. It's true. Again, waiting until something dramatic happened in his life that needed his voice, his action. Is that maybe the primary purpose of waiting in this psalm this week? Waiting until God calls you to act. The last part of it I want to focus on in particular. My life's on the line before God, my Lord. Waiting and watching till morning. Waiting and watching till morning. Oh, Israel, wait and watch for God. With God's arrival comes love. With God's arrival comes generous redemption. Is there something significant to be learned in the waiting for God? Is something ahead that will meet our voices and our clarity? Therefore, we're called to wait because action is going to be required. Does the psalmist say that waiting and watching are better ways to find God than idle chatter and busyness? Is idle chatter or busyness perhaps a way to accidentally postpone the arrival of love and redemption? Getting back to our theme of the month of amusement parks, we've all been there, right? You're standing in line at the theme park and you didn't get a fast pass. And you're waiting to ride the blockbuster most popular ride. You're in line for Space Mountain or Jungle Cruise. And you see a sign that says, you have an hour wait from this point. Isn't that the most discouraging sign? Seriously? An hour wait from this point? How on earth can we stand here and wait another hour? This is crazy. Why are we here? And yet, we have no one to blame but ourselves, right? Well, a few of you might argue that you actually were forced into the Jungle Cruise line, forced into the theme park itself even. But in all reality, for the most part, we chose purposefully to be in the amusement park line and to wait for the ride, be at the theme park in the middle of the sweltering summer. That was our choice. So the wait is ours, chosen by us. Complaining should not be part of this equation, but despite this reality, we do often complain. You know, at Fern's memorial service, on the table here was her adage that she had hanging in her house, "Thou shalt not whine." So she would have appreciated this concept today, but we really do complain a lot when we wait. Now, you can't really say that your life is on the line in a theme park. Well, maybe on any given day, but the psalm says that waiting for God can sometimes be like that, like your life is on the line. Psalm 130 says, "My life is on the line before God, my Lord." That suggests that waiting for God is a primary visceral aspect of our lives. Waiting day and night. Watching day and night for the arrival of God, because you know that with God's arrival comes love, always. And not only love, but redemption. And in the light of the Charleston tragedy in particular, but other recent sad events, violent undertakings in the world, sometimes it seems like we're tired of waiting and watching for God. Tired of waiting and watching for God's arrival. And yet I have to wonder how much waiting and watching some of us actually do. At what point or in what ways are we comparing the concepts of waiting and watching to standing around and complaining? I wonder if we can take that concept at the amusement park of you have an hour wait from this point, that sense of frustration that we have when we see that sign, and maybe we can channel that hour wait instead into opportunity. Can we use our hour wait from this point, our waiting for God to show up, as a time to become the hands and feet of Christ in the world? At times when we just want to get on with it and get something accomplished, can we use the time of waiting for change to actually work on changing our own hearts, work on changing our own ways, work on reaching out and making a difference in ways we haven't before? It might be that the psalmist here is suggesting that there's plenty of work to be done in that space we call waiting for God. Some of it, yes, actually might just be sitting in the silence of our souls and listening, as hard as it is sometimes, listening for God. I have this book on my desk called Doing Nothing. I know every one of you want your pastor to have a book called Doing Nothing. But the concept of this book is about the importance in our lives of that real quiet contemplation and seeking real consciousness and deeply listening to our hearts and looking inside ourselves for that still small voice of the divine. Waiting in that deliberate sort of way that the contemplative people tell us about, waiting in that sort of way for God's arrival. But most contemplative people will tell you, you don't wait for God's arrival just so that you can go, oh, hey, but so that you can act. There's a purpose, a praxis behind your waiting. You might be awaiting of the arrival of love and the arrival of redemption, but what is your role in making that happen here and now? And how do we do that in a world that seems so in need of so much redemption? How do we wait and listen and know exactly when to act? I think waiting takes many forms. A few of us attended an interfaith vigil at the UU Church on Tuesday night. One of the main speakers is Reverend Dawn Riley Duvall. She's a pastor and the head of Black Lives Matter 5280. And she didn't prepare a long set of words for us to hear. She actually stood at the pulpit and did a lot of pausing and a lot of waiting. She allowed the space to be filled with just the crowd's silence, and there was a crowd. She admitted that she is not exactly in a space of action herself right now, but mostly just in a space of despair. She admitted that she feared for the lives of her 8 and 10-year-old children. More pause, more silence. And I thought that was a really good model of what waiting for God is like. She could have easily said these words, my life is on the line before God, my Lord. Waiting and watching till morning. Waiting and watching till morning. Oh, Israel, wait and watch for God. With God's arrival comes love. With God's arrival comes generous redemption. Sometimes you find your dad, right? The Tizay community has published all these lovely songs that we call Tizay chants. And their songs meant to be sung over and over. Not, we're going to do this 3 times, we're going to do this 4 times, but you don't know how many times. We're going to do this song over and over again as we wait for God to enter the space we're in together, as we seek to draw near to God. That's the intent of those songs, the intent, the purpose behind their writing. A repetitive verse that will lead you to a place deep within yourself that empties you out so that God has a space to come in. And that's not an easy thing for us to do. Many people don't like those sorts of services. They're not heavily attended usually in our modern Western culture. And sometimes people might learn to like them, but they don't necessarily at first, because it's kind of counterintuitive to our let's go, let's get busy sort of culture. In the meantime, while we are learning how to wait, or figuring out ways to wait, what are we hoping God will bring when God does arrive? The psalmist says, with the arrival of God is love and redemption, which, as I just said, we do so desperately need in a world that struggles to find love and really needs redeeming. John Mayer, a popular singer, writes in his song, Waiting for the World to Change, that with the world and those who lead it, we just feel like we don't have the means to rise above and lead it. So we keep waiting for the world to change. But we know that even though we say we're waiting for God to arrive, that inherently God is already there. God is already with us. What we're actually waiting on then is for us to recognize that God light within ourselves and recognize and hone in on the ways in which we can let it shine, as the choir told us. Lift your light. Let it shine higher and brighter. To recognize the ways that Jesus continues to walk with us no matter what crazy, insane paths we decide to take. To recognize that Jesus stays with us on the journey, nudging us and guiding us in a way that will lead us back to light and life. Waiting then is perhaps more about mental and physical awareness and attention to the light of Christ that is already within us, waiting on us to act and change. Waiting on us to wake up to a new awareness of our own relationship to humanity and to all of creation. Waiting on us to wake up and take up a new way of living that fully and completely relies on God. So again, our waiting is important. It is essential that we learn to let go of the worldly burdens that we bear, and that we learn to take up the cross of Jesus, whatever that means for us. To take up the way of justice and the way of peace and the mantle of love. And that we learn to wait for our moment to act. And that when that moment arrives, we don't just sit still and let it pass. And that's so easy to do, to just sit still and let it pass. Like the woman in Columbia, South Carolina, who just decided to climb up the flagpole and take it down herself. She waited, and then she felt a need to act, and she did. She didn't let it pass by. And my dear friends, Amy and Jennifer, Amy writes this: 11 years ago, it felt like we were chasing marriage, finding a speck of justice and humanity anywhere we could. We wanted nothing more than to ensure that we had done everything possible to protect our future children, giving them any and all rights under the law we could, and praying no one would dare to use our love as a reason to take them from us. So after 5 years of life together, the minute we could, we spent what little money we had, traveled across the country to California, waited in line in the rain, and were one of the last couples to wed in San Francisco City Hall in 2004. Because of the legal challenges, we married again at the courthouse in Maryland as soon as we could, just to make sure there was no question that our love was real and that our kids would be covered. So today, after 16 years of togetherness, as I wake up to the faces of my beautiful children, there's still a lot of unknowns in the world, more love and justice needed. But what I can tell them, our children, is that our love is stronger than ever, bigger than hate, deeper than fear, and is now recognized by the law of the land. We act when we're called to act, and then we wait again. God's work never ends. Our walk with Jesus never ends. And whether we like it or not, our waiting for the world to change will continue. It's not perfect. Wesley calls us on a path toward Christian perfection. We've got a lot to do. And yes, we do have at least an hour wait from this point. We definitely do. But God is waiting with us. My life's on the line before God, my Lord. Waiting and watching till morning. Waiting and watching till morning. Oh, Israel, wait and watch for God. With God's arrival comes love. With God's arrival comes generous redemption. Amen.